Okay, so welcome to the playlist around the restoration of this book, which is a completely disbound 1586 copy of Faretro del Divino Amore in the Vulgar tongue, meaning Italian, so not Latin. There it is, 1586. It's an end of Renaissance book. So we're going to be restoring this, but I wanted just first to give a little thought as to, I guess, how this would have looked when it was first put together. So the first thing is, do check out the video I did on whether it's worth restoring old books or not, because there are a lot of considerations that should go into that. And as I mentioned in that video, this is a great example with this book of structural headbands and tailbands. And, it was, within 60, 70 years of the making of this book, headbands really ceased to be structurally important. They just became decorative. But we're going to be spending a lot of our time looking at that. But before we embark on the journey, it's worth just thinking about how would this book have looked when it was first done. And this is actually an example, and forgive the plastic it's wrapped in. This is a good example of how it might have looked. So the headband, the structural headband, would have looked like this. It would have been clad in this vellum. And you can see there are these ties here that are made of vellum as well. So there's headband, tailband, and 3 ties in the middle of the book. And, that's probably how it would have looked had its original binding sort of held together, I think. And if we actually look at the book today, you can actually see some remnants of those same ties. And we're going to be giving a lot of thought as to how we reinforce these. That's going to be a big part of the restoration. So that's probably how it looked originally. However, I don't think that realistically we can expect to get this to look like this. It takes literally hundreds of years for vellum to age in this way. And it's not as if there are lots of sort of 400-year-old vellum books lying around with covers that you can sort of raid to do a restoration like this. So instead, our restoration journey is going to result in a book that looks more like this. So this is a book which I restored a couple of months ago. It happens to be 3 works of a Scots preacher by the name of John Weems, who was a very famous preacher, and also, campaigned for the integration and sort of acceptance of Jewish folks in society at a time when anti-Semitism was rife in Europe. And he wrote these works in the 1630s. This came to me completely disbound, and I restored it with some sections of bindings of Histoire Ecclésiastique, which I'd recycled and removed medieval fragments from. So these bindings are actually from the 1730s, with an extra piece of leather here to form a spine. Now, we're going to be doing so much work actually repairing and reinforcing these that the result's going to be ribs in the book that are way more prominent than is the case with this. But I think that sort of gives an idea of how eventually the book will look when it's restored. So that's really the beginning of the journey. The first thing I'm going to be doing is focusing in on some urgent work that we need to do to these headbands and tailbands. They're filled with sticks at this point, and as you can see, this one's snapped, and the cords, the sort of loops, they're already starting to come off. So that's a pretty big structural challenge right there. So that's going to be what we focus on in the next video.